Courage isn't waiting until you're certain. It's choosing to lean in, even when you don't have the full answer yet. On today's episode of The Courageous Choice, we talk about the kind of courage that shows up before clarity arrives. My guest, Allie Danziger, brings a deeply thoughtful perspective on what it means to keep moving forward when the path isn't fully defined. Her story is about leaning into curiosity, trusting your instincts, and staying engaged in the work, even when certainty is incomplete or the outcome isn't guaranteed. In our conversation, we explore what happens when you resist the urge to wait for permission, perfection, or proof, and instead choose presence, learning, and forward motion. Allie shows how leaning in rather than stepping back can open doors you didn't even know were there. This episode is for anyone standing at the edge of a decision, a transition, or a new chapter, wondering if they're ready. You don't need all the answers to make a courageous choice. Let's get into it. Welcome to this episode of The Courageous Choice. I'm really excited to welcome Allie Danziger, the Chief Marketing Officer at Ascent Funding. She's the former founder and CEO of Ampersand, and she also had a marketing agency. And so I'm really excited to have a wonderful conversation today, not only about how the workforce is changing and how companies can use talent differently to scale fast and achieve their goals, but also really around the fluidity of a career. We both have had you can call us employees, you can call us founders, but there's a lot of things in common that we're going to get to talk about today. So welcome, Allie. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so excited to be here.
Whenever we get to talk, we have a lot of fun discussing your experience and your background of really innovating yourself, coming up with new ideas, serving clients, being on your own, and then making the leap as your company was acquired with Ascent and really stepping into, a different role and building teams in new and different ways. And so I'd love for you to just share with the listeners a little bit about your background and kind of your outlook, and let's just dive right in.
For sure. So my background, I started my career at a marketing agency in New York. And it was right at the cusp of all things changing in marketing into social media. And the company was doing lots of layoffs. I was very interested in the social media side of things that were happening in the world of marketing. And so I raised my hand to the CEO and I was like, in the next round of layoffs, you can let me go. I'll take the severance because I really am more interested in what's happening in social and digital marketing. I was 22, 23. And she offered me this amazing opportunity to start the company's social media department. I had no idea what I was doing, but it was my first foray into, I guess, courageous leadership of just jumping in. And so I took the opportunity for no salary increase, let me say, but for just the opportunity to learn. And she let me go to lunch with anyone that would go to lunch with me, read any book, go, any conference that I could go to just to learn about the world of social media. And within 6 months, we had turned the company around and regained a lot of the company's losses that had come from a 2008 real estate crash because of what we were doing in social media. And without any training or guidance, I was running a P&L, running new business meetings, hiring people, and having to figure all of that out. It was an amazing, I didn't know that I would want that kind of experience, but it really was something that I leaned into and loved. And so since I had a lot of autonomy at this early stage of my career, I also, as I was traveling the country, was picking up a lot of freelance clients that the CEO was actually like helping me with how to freelance, how to structure contracts, and how to do that in my free time as long as it wasn't impacting my flow of work or taking business away from the company. And so very quickly, it was about 6 or 9 months that I used up all of my sick and vacation days to do my freelance work. And so did the math that I think lots of budding entrepreneurs often do of if I did, and this was before the gig economy, right? So this was before, everything that you do was really the norm. So I had to do this math of if I did this full time, how quickly till I could regain my salary and all of that. And decided to take a leap at 24 and quit my job and see what could happen. And pretty quickly after that, it turned into a marketing agency because I had to hire people and build structure and process, and it wasn't just sustainable for it to just be me. So then I went on to run my agency for the next 15 years. It was called Integrate. At the 12-year mark is when I sold it to a larger digital marketing agency. The company originally just focused in public relations and social media. And then as the marketing world was changing, had to or either bring in better talent or merge with another organization or upskill my group. We tried a lot of different strategies to build the expertise in the other realms of marketing that we needed to build, and ultimately decided to sell to a digital marketing agency. And I ran that combined group for 3.5 years, and then went to go build my next company, which was called Ampersand, which really, like, as I reflected back in 2020, as I think so many people are reflecting back on like what they enjoy, what they don't enjoy, et cetera, I realized that while I love marketing, what I really loved was developing the entry-level talent that was coming through the walls of the marketing agency for so long. And so ended up, I can spend more time talking about it, but ended up creating Ampersand, which was a training platform to upskill entry-level employees and prepare them for the workforce and place them in paid internship opportunities. And ended up selling that company then a couple of years later after raising a few $1 million to Ascent Funding, which is a private student lender that is deeply focused in student success and in helping students get what they need in order to achieve long-term outcomes. And so the software that we had created really aligned so well with Ascent's mission and fundamental belief in driving those outcomes. So sold that, ended up helping to integrate that software and program into Ascent Funding, and then have recently joined the marketing team full-time as CMO and lead the entire company's marketing efforts.
Which is a really awesome opportunity. And it's a unique blend, it feels like, of kind of like your whole career journey and kind of, starting in marketing and certainly having that lens about where things were going. There's definitely a trend as you were talking. I don't know that I'd put this together before, but like, you're a little ahead of the curve, right? Like when you think about kind of internet marketing and then even the early career talent. I mean, that's a conversation that we're having a ton around right now. It's just that part of the workforce, and how do we skill them up and how do we support them in these transitions. We're finding, gaps, significant gaps as they're graduating, not necessarily technical, but certainly like how do they come into an organization and be successful. I wanted to, before we dive into the kind of that lens, I'm wondering if you can share a little bit. Do you know internally, like what that was about you, early career, where you were like willing to take those risks?
Early in my career, or willing to take risks on
Yeah.
early career professionals?
No, in your career, you were 24 and kind of willing to take a leap.
I don't know. I haven't really been able to pinpoint like what exactly it is, but I certainly can say that my parents were encouraging of taking leaps. Not necessarily from a financial standpoint, but just in this like mindset from a very early age of you can do anything, and not letting anything hold me back, and building that confidence in me and my sister. My sister is also an entrepreneur. And so I think they are not entrepreneurs, but I think they saw that that's what they wanted for their kids, and pushed us to have that confidence, whether we should have had the confidence in it or.
Yeah. No, I
Oh,
just think it's so interesting, right? Like in today's world, I think that there's just more choice and people are recognizing choice, and the old constructs that we used to think around security and safety and structure and being taken care of by employers, like there's a blend. And so people don't necessarily feel that way, but it definitely was, when we were growing up and certainly as my parents were, like, I can remember being fearful when my dad was in transition one time. He didn't have a college degree and he was like afraid he wasn't going to get hired, and that I think does things just as you observe someone that you love and respect, like that fear was real. And so now, like, regardless of whether it's an internal employee or external resource that you're leveraging, like we want that kind of drive and that say yes to that new experience, like you did, where like, I don't really know how to do this, but I'm going to figure it out. And that was you did that without ChatGPT.
that's correct. I've always also loved like questioning things, just everything, sometimes just for the sake of argument or just for the sake of playing devil's advocate. And I do that in my personal life too. And I'm sure it drives my husband and my friends crazy. But I think that shows up then professionally too, because it's like, well, why aren't we doing things this way? Or has this always been the way that we show up in the way that we do things? And so I think some of that, just which is like innate in my personality and something that I just always love to explore and ask those questions, shows up also in that like willingness to those risks, because it's like, well, what do you have to lose? No one's ever done it this way before, so let's just give it a shot.
in today's world, that's like something that we're helping companies kind of build into their cultures, like getting comfortable with that. Like we should always be asking because nobody's done this before. Like I have known anybody who'd navigated COVID and the return to office and now the pace of change with technology. And so we're all in this like kind of collective experimentation and the way to really enroll people in it is that co-creation and that dialogue of it can be uncomfortable, but it's like we're going to get to a better outcome if we can challenge each other's thinking, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you've scaled in lots of different environments and you've talked a little bit about how it's about getting the right resources at the right time, doing the right work. And you've done that in lots of different ways. Why don't you share some insights around that?
Yeah. So as much as I think it is about having the right resources, it's also making sure that everyone is like rowing their boat in the same direction and knows exactly where they're going. So whether that's an intern, a VP, a consultant, as long as everyone knows exactly what their role and responsibility is and then what exactly they're being held accountable to, I find that to be the best way to scale, whether it's a 4-person startup where we're working 20 hours a day but if we know what our North Star is and what our goal is, then you know that even with the chaos of that everyone's going to be ultimately making the right decisions towards that same objective. And then same thing with a growing, scaling company. We all have to wake up every single day thinking about one thing. And as long as we know what that one thing is, we know what we're being measured against towards that and what we have direct control over, then I think that's how you can scale and build trust within an organization or a team so that they can then have the autonomy to do what they need to do because they have the skills, they have the autonomy, they have the ability to go do the thing that they're great at, all towards the same North Star.
Yeah, I say it like this, like if I want everyone in the organization, if they like found a discretionary half hour of time to know what would be like the highest and best use and just feel confident they could go do it, right? And so that's the direction, that's the focus, that's that North Star and everybody going in the same direction. And then the feeling of empowerment too, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, you know, obviously I have a point of view around consultants and I'm calling, I don't know if you've heard this yet, but I'm calling them executive entrepreneurs, right? People who have been executives, they've been super successful. Many of them were builders within companies. Now they've just taken the risk to go, create a firm doing what they're excellent at. That's kind of the other end of the market from interns. But do you use consultants on both ends of the market, really?
Yeah. I mean, I had a marketing agency for 15 years. So because of that, I very much know the like external service business and how you serve your clients then. And so I think because I have had so much experience almost being that consultant in a lot of ways. And now I'm on the other side, I know the benefit of working with consultants or agencies that can help you get from A to B so much faster than hiring internal. And I love hiring internal. I love developing talent, and it's one of my superpowers, I believe. That said, like at Ascent, we have some crazy audacious goals that we have to hit in the next 4 months. If I were to bring in an individual to do that, I know what the time they're going to take to onboard, to find where the bathrooms are, how to communicate with stakeholders, like how do we do things at Ascent? Because there's a different level of expectation of what's required within the culture for an internal employee versus I could go hire a consultant to do some of the same work. And there's so much less onboarding because it's like just very clear of what the deliverable is. And they can just get into the messy work right away without having to go through all the same onboarding and everything. And so there's pros and cons to both. But yeah, I really very much love working with consultants and agencies, especially in a high growth environment.
It's an interesting, I think, evolution, right? Now you're in a more established, growing company, very successful, very focused on culture and all of those things. And to your point, so there's, we've talked about kind of early career talent that you can develop. We've talked about experienced consultants that you can bring in and use strategically, but you're also building a scalable or internal organization. And that, at this scale it's a little bit new, right? For you? Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I mean, while I've had, a marketing agency, and so at that company, at our biggest, we were 40 people, and then had different teams within that I was building and building organization and culture around. and then had a startup that was growing. We grew to 12 people at one time, but like now my marketing department is bigger than that company ever was. And so there's certainly a bit of imposter syndrome around the work that I'm doing, but it's fun. I'm super excited about this challenge and having the ability to scale a department that I think is pivotal to the entire company's growth, and to be able to see how different levers of things that I've been able to pull on when I had my own company, how that can work within this department that I am running too. So it's definitely a scary change, but one that I lean into. And as you and I have talked about, it's one that I chose. Like I very specifically chose this type of scary environment because I knew that for me professionally, it's what I needed in order to hit future career goals and aspirations that I have. So because I've only been my own boss for my whole career, I recognized a couple of years ago that that's limiting to me in the experiences that I've had. I haven't had the opportunity to go hire all these agencies. I haven't had the opportunity to learn from people who are so much smarter than me within my organization because I've had like budget constraints in my companies, right? Where I hire more junior talent. That led me to greatness. And I love hiring and developing entry-level talent, but to learn from experienced VPs and C-suite executives has really taken my leadership skills and my communication skills to another level. And so I'm grateful for the challenge and the scary moments that I've had to lean into when I chose to sell my company to a bigger company, where I could have sold to like some smaller companies and merged, and it would have been great. And we could have, I could have had maybe like a different title right off the bat and had more ownership of the product that we were building. But I intentionally knew I really like this CEO. I can learn a lot from him. I can learn a lot from the leaders that he's currently surrounding himself with. And that's really what I personally need to have those uncomfortable moments and moments of growth for my career.
I think yeah, Ken and the team, they're really, smart. And I feel like anytime I'm in the room with them, it's the same thing, right? Learning something and challenging each other. And that's like really important, I think, in people's growth, right? What's the saying? If you're always the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room or something like that. So, I talk to people at all different kinds of stages of their career. And I think that, getting this experience is invaluable, whether you do it on the front end as you're growing and developing or later. Either way, the complexity of organizations and organizational systems and how work gets done. And then as you scale as a leader, being able to kind of get work done through others in a different way. Like those are just awesome skills to develop. And then it's about, kind of situational leadership and learning how to be most effective for what's needed in your business at that time. Yeah, but you hit on the imposter syndrome and, when you're playing at a different level and stepping in, but it can be uncomfortable. And I think just giving you kudos for acknowledging it, because I think, everybody feels it, but not everybody's willing to say it.
Yeah. And my husband reminds me that, like, if you're not uncomfortable, then you're not growing. And what's the point then? Right. Like, if you can just keep doing the same job with your eyes closed, and not really putting your thinking hat on and getting to be creative and problem solving, then that's so boring. So why would you choose that? I wouldn't choose that. I want to keep growing. That's a really important value of mine. And so you got to deal with the uncomfortable part of it in order to grow. And then you get to the opportunity. And this is what I tell interns all the time. Then you get the opportunity to look back and be like, whoa, remember when that was so scary and so hard? And now that's the easy work. So now you have to go look for your next challenge.
That's so cool. So, okay, I'm gonna brag a little bit about your bridge program, because Gig Talent has just kicked off our first project with a team of students through the bridge program. And we're really excited about getting to benefit from their project work that they're bringing to us. But can you share, because I think this is a really cool opportunity that employers don't necessarily know, and it's free.
Yeah, it's free to businesses. So thank you so much for participating, because while it's free, I know that it is time consuming, but at Ascent, we are mission driven to help students actually get the experience that they need to launch their careers. And so with that, our borrowers get access to a program called the Ascent Up Bridge program, where they, in teams of 5 or 6, are partnered with businesses to solve business problems or challenges. So we work with the students to upskill them, to teach them how to be consultants, how to be interns, and really teach those unwritten rules of the workplace that they're not really necessarily learning in school or at home. And when I say that, I mean like communication, problem solving, asking questions, so that they can show up professionally to our business partners. And then we work with businesses who have problems that they need to solve within their business and help them scope out what can be a 6-week project that can be solved by this team of 5 to 6 interns. So it's about 150 hours worth of work that you get for free. It's grant funded by the Michael and Susan Dell Foundation. And we are paying those interns through this grant. So we're constantly looking for more businesses that are willing to take this experience. But we, again, our Ascent Up team works with the business to say, okay, here's your problem. You want to do a website audit, or you want to research X, Y, and Z. And we help you actually map that out into a 6-week project and then work to translate that to the interns. So the interns basically, while they meet with you, they're working with our coaches week by week to then deliver that product at the end of the 6 weeks. So it's super easy for the businesses, but you then also get access to talent in case you are looking to hire entry-level talent. It's kind of like a try before you buy, and then you can bring them on as interns or hire them or whatnot to continue the work that they've already started. And we've had hundreds of success stories now through this, where both the learners are getting access to building their social capital, getting new skill development, getting experience to then put on their resume to then go launch their careers. And then most of our employers are repeat and keep coming back because they see so much value from it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been impressed. So I was a little skeptical, I'll be
Sure.
honest.
Yeah.
But the scope of the project was actually something that's very valuable to us. And I think for employers, to your point, slowing down to like figure out a project sometimes can feel difficult. But your team really helped with that, and you have so many use cases that have been successful. It was helpful for us to kind of go, oh yeah, we need that. And then I've been impressed with the caliber of and experience of the students. I don't know. I guess I just, I have a 24-year-old, and so I was wondering kind of what level of experience we're going to get, but they're super passionate. They're really excited. It's definitely an opportunity for employers to build a pipeline, but it's also an opportunity to get some real work done. And then for the students, it's huge. I mean, this whole idea of productivity being the basis of morale and giving them confidence to just work with others, figure it out, proud of what they deliver. I mean, and then like you said, resume build. So hopefully whether it's that employer that they stay with or if they go somewhere else, they have confidence and they have examples of their work product. And when, tell me about a time, they actually have stories they can share that's work related, which is like huge. So I think it's really cool, but thank you for sharing it with us.
No, thank you for taking on a team and sharing your experience.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Okay, so when you think, if you were giving advice to people just let's say coming up in their career and navigating it kind of with the fluidity that's coming to them, what advice do you have?
I always say just lean in, like just do it. Just learn what you don't know. Ask the questions or look it up on ChatGPT and figure it out. But lean into those experiences and say yes to the things, even if they feel scary, even if they don't seem like they necessarily align with exactly where you want to go. Even a bad internship or even a bad job can help you figure out, this is what I like, this isn't what I like, especially, early in your career. So those are okay to explore. But, as I shared, when I got this quote unquote promotion to go run social media and build that department in my very first job at 22 years old, I didn't know what I was doing, right? But it ended up truly launching the rest of my career in a totally different trajectory than I ever expected. But if I had been too scared or waited for that true promotion, then that wouldn't have ever happened. And so I'm so grateful that I had the support of peers and family around me to push me into saying yes to those experiences and leaning in even when it's uncomfortable.
I love it. Lean in. Okay, so if our audience was inspired and wants to participate in the Bridge program or get more information, where should they go?
I can drop a link, but you can just Google Ascent Up Bridge program and hopefully you'll be able to find it.
Ascent Up Bridge program. And I'm so grateful for you joining us today. It's always fun to see you. And I can't wait to see how you continue to innovate both yourself and within the business and all the great things that you guys do. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for all that you do and for all of your support.
Leadership is shaped one courageous choice at a time. If this episode resonated, share it with someone who needs it, and follow the show to stay part of the conversation. To learn more about how we help leaders and organizations navigate what's next, visit Gig Talent. Welcome to the brave new world of work.